Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bouncing Back, the Personal Resilience Science Insights podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We are champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week, we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I am your host, Joanna. Let's get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Some people find today's digital world incredibly efficient and helpful in their productivity, while others struggle to find a work-life balance amid digital distractions. Disconnecting from our work life can be hard, especially if colleagues are able to consistently contact you on a personal phone. And with the rise of AI, these challenges are ever increasing. Guiding us through our discussion on the productivity paradox today is Yair Nativ. He's an award winning impact entrepreneur passionate about technology's opportunities to improve people's life. He co founded and is the CEO of MindGuard, an AI powered platform helping teams remove execution blockers by analyzing how they work across tools such as Slack, Asana, and Google Calendar. He previously led SafeLane, a road safety initiative supported by over 100,000 volunteers. And he's also one of the founder of Voiceable, which creates smart AI-based voice assistants for websites. Wonderful background. So we're very excited to have you join us here today. Welcome to the show, Yair.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
It's nice to meet you too. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, especially on AI, to be in this position as an impact entrepreneur?
Sure. And so I started my impact entrepreneurship a little bit more than a decade ago. And sadly, after my father died in a car accident, we developed a mobile app that reduces a car accident. Back then, AI wasn't as trendy as today. But it did start the impact entrepreneurship journey. We developed a mobile app that records driving infringement and helps civilians fight harmful driving. After that, I started using more AI. With Voiceable, we developed AI voice assistants for websites. It was at the peak of Alexa and Google Assistant and the voice revolution. And now with MindGuard, what we're doing is leading or being a part of the AI era by analyzing organizational data and understanding work patterns that should be improved. So that's fully blown AI. Even though I hate using the buzzword, but we must. Yeah.
Yeah, especially it's not even a decade yet, and AI has taken over the world by a storm. And how has the rise of AI impacted your own work as an entrepreneur, especially as someone who is working in the field of AI?
Yeah, so it's amazing how much easier it is today to build. Um, I'm teaching entrepreneurship a couple of hours a week, and high schoolers
Yeah.
can build apps in like a few hours and launch them and send them to users and start generating revenue. And I think that in startups, like everyone gets that. Like that everything changed and you need to shift everything you do towards the new tech. I think that bigger companies, for obvious reasons, are a little bit slower. to get that. But like everything that we do is AI. Like coding, we use Cursor. Managing our time, we use AI features, and obviously what we're building is naturally born AI for companies. So everything,
Indeed.
the answer is everything.
Before we dive deeper into our conversation of the day, we have a segment to get to know you better called Have
Yeah.
You Met Yair? Okay, so first question. What do you like to do in your spare time?
So I like running. Um, I did marathons in New York and Berlin and Portugal.
Wow.
Hopefully in Australia and Indonesia as well in the future. Um, like mostly sports, like that's the most relaxing activity I enjoy as an entrepreneur.
I see. And what's a book or movie have you enjoyed recently?
So I think in this context, and one of the best books when it comes to work, I think, is Deep Work by Cal Newport.
Yeah.
Um, like it helped me shape. I read it a few years ago, but it helped me shape like how I work. Like for instance, I live by the beach, so I try just working from the beach whenever I can. Like it depends on the type of tasks and on what you need to do. But like it makes you about 30% more creative. So for strategic tasks and for things that require deeper thinking, I prefer, like I hate just sitting in front of my laptop all day.
Yeah, I agree. Especially in front of the beach, you get to have the view of the ocean in front of you to be more creative.
And it's relaxing. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like work. It feels like having fun.
Yeah, it does feel like it's a holiday. Are you listening to any podcasts at the moment?
And so I'm using Headway and to download like summaries of specific books.
Mm,
And so it really depends on what I want to learn at the period of time. Right now I'm listening to a burnout book, stress and burnout, which is a topic as an entrepreneur. But it really depends on like what I want to learn and as I go. And I recommend that like you can just read a lot of books in under 10 minutes.
I agree, especially with summaries like that. And do you have any role model in a personal or professional setting?
Um, I'm not sure. Like I always struggled with like idolizing like one single human being that to learn from. Like obviously, like when you're thinking about entrepreneurship, you have a lot of excellent entrepreneurs, and I built a bot for Richard Branson, like using this GPT tool. So every time I struggle with business questions, or you just ask Richard, and you respond using AI. But I think that like you can learn something from everyone. Like it's just it depends on what you want to learn.
I see. So everyone that comes in your walk of life can be a role model on certain
Hmm.
topics.
Yeah.
And last question for this segment, is there a course that has inspired you?
So I'm a little bit old. So university feels like it's a lot of time ago. I do recommend, like in MindGuard, we are working with Michael Schrage from MIT, one of the smartest people I know. And so I do recommend everything that Michael does. go Google that and go listen and look.
All right. And that's it for our segment on Have You Met Yair? Now, going to the first question for our interview. How would you define personal resilience?
So that's a good question. I think it's staying emotionally grounded when, sorry for the language, when shit happens. Like, I'm with an entrepreneurial background, like everything, of over a decade. Like I know to expect the unexpected, so I'm less in, in a struggle when it happens. So I think it's finding the balance of understanding the external circumstances and staying emotionally grounded on the inside. But I'm not sure that's a scientific definition. Um, does that make sense?
And secondarily, how would you define digital dependency?
So again, not an academic, but like when we are looking at the data, okay, we ran some surveys among students, mostly US based students, and some of them mentioned that um, being far away from their phones is more stressful than having a close relative sick. Okay, like that's a very like that dependency of I need to stay connected. I'm sure you also have your phone close by. So that dependency of staying connected 24/7 is extremely harmful for us. I'm not a saint. Like once again, I have my phone with me most of the time, and I think that like while it helps us feel in control, it also takes a toll from us. So it's a toll, and it's a creativity toll. Like it's very hard to think deep thoughts, so like smart thoughts, when you are 24/7 connected. I'm going to put it here. when you are when you are 24/7 connected, and I met them like as a part of our research. I spent a few months like in American universities, um, and we interviewed them, and they like when you ask them, okay, what is your problem? Like, what is your challenge in life? Um, they don't immediately say YouTube, but like when you are you familiar with the 5 why method? Like when you ask why and then again why and then again why. So like at the fifth one, you get to this never-ending cycle, and that's student. And when you think about the workforce, and so people are like we talked with a lot of employees on Slack, and how they use it and how they feel about it and etc. And they are just afraid of missing out. Like it's their enemy. For like one employee told us that she's afraid to miss something important that her boss said, and she hates this feeling, but she can't avoid it because she doesn't want to miss anything. And in our company, we try to give a 2 hour minimum period before responding. Like when it's okay, like sometimes there are urgent things, but we try to give like 2 hours of deep work. Like you don't have to respond immediately. Like just take your time, do whatever you're working on. Obviously, we need to communicate, but we don't want to interrupt you. Like coding, you have to be
Focused.
concentrated, and also other things like if you wanted to achieve something that is meaningful, you can't do it in 7 minutes. Like you have to have a bigger and longer period of time. Does
Yeah,
that
you
make
talk
sense?
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does make sense. You talked about deep work, and how would you describe the relationship between personal resilience and digital dependency?
And not good. Not good. Um, so again, bringing back my phone as an example, um, like I think it helps us feel in control because everything is well organized, and we have the calendar, and we have the email, and we have Slack, and we have like WhatsApp and whatever iMessages, whatever people use in their own country. Um, but it takes control from us because no matter how hard you try, and this is by the way why we named it Mind Guard, which we are going to change. We're going to change the name, but like it's very hard, to open your phone to see an email from an investor
Mm,
and to not enter it. And if you enter it, it's very hard to ignore the results. Like if it's a good response, fine, you're happy. If it's a bad response, you're not happy. It's very hard to. One of the things that I'm trying to do, like on a daily basis, is decide evening time to not waste cognitive energy in the morning, to decide evening time, like what's my main task for tomorrow, and
mm,
then just take 2 hours. It's extremely hard. 99% of people, when you ask them like what's the first thing you do in the morning, they
yeah,
check messages. So
I
so so
agree.
it's so so it's so it's extremely hard to not do that, especially as a parent. Um, but I try to avoid my phone as much as possible. I'm not successful every day doing that. And to start the day with the deep, because it's you can't, like you can't, humans can't concentrate with these devices, or most humans can't. And again, like in, there's also a difference between professions. I'm mostly thinking about the tech industry, which
Yeah.
is what I know.
How would you say the AI productivity paradox and digital dependency manifests in the average person's day-to-day life?
Uh, so I'm not sure what's the time now in Indonesia. Like right now here in my time zone, it's 8:40 a.m. Um, but if I ask you like what were the touch points of your digital journey today, like I am assuming that you woke up, you opened your phone, you checked messages, you've opened your calendar to see, okay, what do I have for today? Um, Maybe you got some good emails, bad emails. Like, but if I asked you, like, what were the main touch points for you today, and how helpful they were for you? Um, yeah,
Okay. So what do you mean by main touch points? Like what are the things I did in the morning?
yeah, like, yeah, like from the moment you woke up and took your phone, or from the
Okay.
moment you woke up, like, how much time did you spend on digital, and how much did it help you, like during
Well,
your day?
for me, I think it's at times I do doom scroll in the morning as well. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I don't do that. But especially the past 2 days, baby. Yeah, I have been quite dependent as a Gen Z as well. In the morning to stay awake is it's one of the ways for me to stay awake and not go back to sleep in the morning.
And so doom scrolling is fun. Like this is why people do it. Like it doesn't require, and also I sometimes do it as well. Like I think the balance is okay. Like just doing it every once in a while is like we are human. And I think that most people after like they don't feel bad, but they don't feel as good as after completing like something that's a little bit more meaningful. Okay,
Mm.
like after one of the beach sessions, I'm I usually I take my notebook. I try to not hold my phone with strategic questions. Okay, like just trying to think um, like about strategic topics that I need to think about. Um, uh, I feel much more. I feel much better. And there's also research about that. Like it's not a personal thing. Like there is research. Like after deep work sessions, you just you know coming up with a new idea. Okay, coming up with a solution for a big problem you need to face. Like it's and and I'm old. Okay, so my doom scrolling is Facebook. I'm assuming yours is Instagram or TikTok. Is that a fair assumption? But they're not. Well, I'm not saying anything interesting here. Like we know that they're not good for us in some of the cases. I like funny dog movies, but that doesn't help anyone.
Okay. And despite significant advances in AI and automation, economists struggle to find clear evidence of substantial productivity increases across industries. What do you believe contributes to this disconnect in regards to AI? Because we believe that AI would bring much more productivity.
Uh, so I read Professor Yuval Noah Harari's book called I think *Sapiens*,
Mm,
um,
yes.
and when we are looking at a few hundred years back, and that was the last big revolution, and when we started thinking about the industrial one, and when we started thinking about processes and productivity, and before that, like it's not too long ago. Okay, like
Yeah,
when you think about mankind
literally.
and billions of years. Um, and ever since we started, the rise towards productivity and micro productivity and
Mm,
micro productivity. And another person I'm working with, that's a professor at Columbia University. We have these discussions like once in a while, and like eventually the conclusion is that human beings are not going to use their spare time that they saved, to do more good to humanity. Okay, they're going to spend more time on TikTok. That they're going to rest more, and like that's what we're going to do. Or 99%, the 99% is going to do. Um, someone should build a company that solves that. The,
I see. Maybe you can do that as well. Okay. Yeah, maybe you can do that as well, Yair. Okay.
you
And
too. Yeah.
yeah, me too. I can do that as well. And research suggests that lags in implementation may play a role in the AI productivity paradox. How long do you think it typically takes for firms to optimize processes around current AI systems?
Um, so we are speaking like we are working on a AI a hybrid consulting model. Some people assume that consulting is dead
Mm-hmm.
or going to die in the next few years. And it's interesting because we are speaking with companies from different sizes. Okay, so like 10% startups, there's no need for an explanation of what to do. Um, but when you're speaking with like bigger companies and when seniority level gets higher, um, we see that things are a little bit different. Like things that are that in startups you don't have the advantage of having 10,000 people working on something. So you must be like small, lean, fast, as fast as you can. Um, when we are speaking like with senior consultants, okay, very impressive, smart people, like they seem to think that my advantage is that I'm smart. Like not me, Yair. I'm speaking on behalf of the consultant. Like my advantage is that I'm smart. I can think strategically, and this is what companies, this is what people need. Um, and when we say, okay, but wouldn't it be helpful to have more data analyzed, like as a part of your process? They 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 seem to struggle with it. Like no, like I have my PhD. Again, I'm speaking on behalf of the consultant. I have my PhD. I'm smart. I consulted to successfully to numerous other companies, and I'm not arguing with with the smartness of this consultant, but definitely smarter than me. But um, they seem to have an inner struggle, which I think is holding them back of the value that they can get from these new tools. And again, things that are obvious to to every startup founder I know, um, because this is their advantage. Okay, like when you're smaller, these tools help you more. When you're bigger, they can definitely help you a lot, but it's hard to to navigate bigger ships and dozens of years of experience.
I see. And with MindGuard, how do you manage the always on culture, either personally or in your organization level?
So I have a mentor that I speak with occasionally, and and when we speak about like my mentality, okay, of like I work a lot, okay, I work. I don't want to say 24/7, but I work a lot. Um, and I'm obviously very much aware of all of the research. I know how you should work. Um, so I'm going to divide it to like personally and teamwork. Like teamwork, we have like we have some rules. Okay, like for example the 2 hour rule that I mentioned. Like you don't need to respond fast. Like some companies confuse fast with quality and commitment. And now, fast communication, okay, fast in most cases is good, but fast communication with quality and commitment. So we have a set of like these types of rules, okay. We and since we also analyze our data, we saw that every time that there is a meeting that is relatively late during the day, like 6, 7, 8 p.m., and like, you can't avoid that like 100% of the time because, this is a startup, things are stressful, like this is a hectic environment. But so you can't avoid that, 100% of the time. But we see from our data that we are less effective the day after. Okay, so if you want to run an effective company, ideally you want to measure those things and run an operating system for the company that is effective. Okay, because like in some cultures, and it really varies between verticals and between like industries. In some
Yeah.
cultures, like you must seem busy 24/7, which we all know is not helpful. And as of like for me, um, it's hard like being a founder and maintaining a work-life balance. I think that other founders, I know some founders do it much better than I do. Um, I do try to shut down like my brain at some point of the day, um, but I can improve my my work life balance. Um, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And using productivity tools can help uh digital dependency effectively, and such as, Pomodoro timer, and then returning back to your work and then taking quick breaks. What specific tools have you found most beneficial in maintaining work-life balance while maximizing productivity?
Um, so I'm using Opal, OPAL, for my phone. I'm using a lot of tools. I'm using Opal for my phone. It's, I think, like one of the better mobile apps I saw. I've seen that blocks like negative apps for you. Like with I don't want it to sound like an ad. I don't know them. I don't know these two personally, but I like they have a good set of features. I have like a lot of Chrome extensions that are blocking. Like for example, if I'm entering Facebook or LinkedIn just to to message someone, they block the content so that I can enter
Oh,
and just message someone without looking at the cute dog video at the middle of the day. Um, but I think that you can divide it into external help, which is like what I just mentioned, like blocking stuff. And there is internal help, which is not as like I think it needs to be a combination. In the internal help, I don't think that there are a lot of good technique like tech solutions. I think it's mostly like understanding like the amount of noise you have and how much it affects you, and it's more educational, like less technology. Even though like I'm sure that good tech is going to rise up also in that area.
I see. Blocking information overload, because sometimes we just want to keep on scrolling, especially as you mentioned, cute dog videos. You want to see another one. With the rapid development of AI, several criticisms of it regarding ethics have surfaced. What are some ethical implications to consider when using AI in the workplace?
Uh, that's a good question. Um, so I think that people, for some people, think that like it's a personal thing and it's not like a structural issue. Like we are working with an excellent AI ethics professor from Boston, Professor Nir Izikovic, the founder of the AI Ethics Center at UMass Boston.
Oh,
And we created like a framework of what to do to stay ethical, like mostly when it comes to data. And so we tell you very like we are very straightforward. like we tell you, this is the data that we're collecting. This is how we're going to use that. And like unlike some other companies, like the bigger ones, that use your data to sell ads, or like we genuinely want to use it to help you. So like it's how you were thinking about building the product. And whether you're using all of this data for the user or against it. I don't want to go to the cliche of if you're not paying for the product, you're the product. Like it's a well-known cliche that is repeatable, but it's a cliche because it's true. Like
Yeah,
I yeah yeah.
it's great to have transparency, especially in your level, especially as an impact entrepreneur who is using AI for creating these companies such as MindGuard. And what can we do to create a more human-centered approach to work that utilizes the advantages of AI while prioritizing human values?
So like I think that there's the direct, slightly said answer, and there's the more and there's the idealistic answer. So like the idealistic answer is that like we need to create frameworks of product development that are doing that. We have the Center for Humane Technology in the West Coast in the US, that is working on some of that. And but the reason I'm starting with that, and I think that's the idealistic answer, is because when it comes to it, money is still running things, and when senior execs need to choose between what am I doing with this feature to make it more profitable, and like in most of the cases we can guess what like which one would win, like the money or the ideal. So I also think that there's a lot of personal responsibility in this case and education, because like with my kids, which are small, and like we are working very hard to enforce the environment to not show them, to not give them phones when we are not around, and to not expose them to screens, which is, as far as I know, the general rule of most Silicon Valley exec.
Yeah.
So it's a combination, but it's a hard fight to win, because eventually money wins most of the time, whether we like it or not. That's reality. And
And
so yeah.
yeah, that is really a wonderful intake, especially for children who gets easily addicted and easily influenced in the world of AI and just devices in general. And as an impact entrepreneur, how do you balance the potential productivity gains from AI and technology with the need for sustainable work practices and employee well-being?
So I think slash hope. Um, like you can use tools that are doing that. Okay, like I'm obviously biased, but like one of the things that we do, and we also do this internally, guys, is we analyze work-life balance, um, because
Ah,
because you have the data, okay, like when was the last meeting, because it's on calendar, and when the last Slack message was sent. And by the way, talking about ethical AI, like that's like we are um, struggling to find like the fine balance between helping you. Okay, analyzing your work-life balance definitely helps you without interfering too much with your privacy. So, for example, we're not reading the content of messages, um, the content of private messages. Um, so that's one part of the answer. Like there are tech tools that can help you, um, and I think that as mentioned, like there is personal responsibility and there is a structural product building that needs to be adopted, like the methods they suggest in the Center for Humane Technology, but there are others. Like it's not there's more than this one. Does that resonate?
Yeah, it does resonate. And in an increasingly automated world, in what ways do you see work and productivity being redefined?
So I think it's going to be hard to know now because we're going like in 5 years from now we're going to look at what we have now and it's going to be ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like for example, we did an experiment testing like the four big LLMs and how they analyze data. And when we experiment, we do it with our data, and like the results were not great. Like on simple question, okay, like which month did we launch more features? Okay, like it's an easy question. It's not a hard question to analyze, and some of the LLMs were not right. I'm analyze like responding to this question. And so I'm starting really to say like let's do it. Let's be cautious when using it. Like it's obviously going to automate a lot of simple tasks. Like we are starting to see AI agent marketplaces um, that they have a good start, but I don't think they're good yet. Like they don't provide a good enough value. Like they can mostly do what we can do using GPT or
Mm-hmm.
one of the others. Um, Obviously, it's going to improve. Like every few months, we see a big shift of improvement. And it's going to take the simple tasks regarding the ones that require more humane thinking. So probably going to take a lot of that as well. Um, and this is one of the reasons that we are focusing on human work in what we
Mm.
do. Like we focus on like the combination of human and AI work. Like when I met with an investor from Boston, and he asked me, "Why are you working on human work? Like everyone wants now just AI agents and replacing humans with AI." So, like humans are going to continue working in the foreseeable future, um, and again, it's very hard to to predict. But like soft skills, like just being able to communicate
Mm-hmm.
clearly, might be even more important because AI, by the way, is going to communicate wonderful. Like they're
Yeah,
going AI is a good communicator,
that's right.
but still, like we're still going to communicate with human beings. That's just one example of soft skill. They're going to be even more important. I think it was the CEO of Anthropic that predicted that in a couple of years, like there are going to be no developers. So I think he's exaggerating probably a little bit, but that we're already seeing now that I don't remember which one of the big tech giants it was, but they announced that they're now developing about 30% of their development using AI. Um, so it's going to definitely take a lot of you know simple work, relatively simple work. But humans are probably going to still stay human in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, AI will be more advanced in the future while humans will still be productive, but maybe in a more evolved type of way.
And if I may add, um, like I think I'm a productive guy. Like I'm pretty much on top of most productivity tools. Yeah, I know like which of the new ones is good or not. Like again for me, um, I think that this race for productivity
Yes.
um, is tiring. And again, it just like the last few hundreds of years. Okay, it's not like human beings did not live like we do, like in the um, just after the industrial revolution.
That's right.
So I think that sometimes we tend to try to micromanage our productivity like into too small chunks of productivity of time. Um, but like in every one of the aspects, okay, like AI calendars, they start to get better. Like knowing like which meetings you can try moving. We did an experiment on Slack analyzing like communication that wasn't productive enough. Um, and like AI can help with that. Okay, we saw that in one company, about 20% of conversations were repeatable. Okay, um, definitely something to work on. 20% of conversations, that's a lot of time. Um, we saw that about 20% of communication in the same company, another chunk of 20%, um, with conversations that could have been much shorter if they communicated better. So again, I'm biased, but I think that like these types of tools that are going to be able to analyze data and to help us work better are going to be helpful. Like all of the micromanagement type of tools, like I I'm trying to not chase them. Like I'm trying to not chase them.
Yeah. And last question for today's topic. What advice would you give to other entrepreneurs and business leaders looking to harness AI and technology while avoiding the pitfalls of productivity paradox and maintaining a healthy work life balance?
So I think it's mostly culture. It's mostly culture, which is not a technology question. The technology does help, or vice versa. But like it's mostly technology. Like I met recently a company in Germany,
Mm,
and they said, okay, we have like they have teams across Europe with different cultures, and they're struggling to work, or they think they can improve the work together. Um, so understanding like the culture of each company and each human being or each team, and then like which tools do they need in order to improve and work better and maintain a good work-life balance. Like work-life balance, that's a vague term
mm-hmm.
per geography. Okay, like the work-life balance in the US is not the work-life balance in Germany or other places. Um, I think Germany is much better when it comes to work-life balance. Um, and Europe, generally speaking, is better when it comes to work-life
Yeah,
balance.
indeed.
Um, so to summarize my answer, like it's a combination of culture and that is not just geography, it's a geography, industry, etc. Um, Understanding like what's a good fit for each team, each company, because it differs. And also like the personal aspect of understanding what can you do for yourself. um, but I'm trying to avoid like the constant chase, the constant chase of being improving my time management in 2.3%, because eventually, like it can be helpful, but like try to work on the big chunk. Okay, if you have a good basic, I think it's good enough for
I
most.
see.
For most.
So it's more to understanding oneself and the culture of the company and the country that you are in, and what is work life balance for each and every individual would look like.
And yeah, like my work life balance is probably not a good fit for most people. But I enjoy it. Like I don't feel as if it's work. Like I feel as if I'm working on things that are important for me, and hopefully important for others. Um, so it doesn't feel like work. But having said that, I understand that I work too much. But like, but it's good. Like it might fit. It's a good fit for me.
I
It
see.
might not be a good fit for others. So very personal.
Let's go into practices and habits. What's a habit you would recommend practicing to maintain a balance in one's dependency on technology?
Yeah. So I think it gets back to the question of external versus internal tools. Like external tools, that I think there are some good tools that I'm using. Like we know that most people stop using them like after a few days, weeks, months, because they are annoying. Like
Yeah.
you don't want anyone to block you from doing anything. Um, so while they are good, and I'm using them, and while they are good, I think that the most important work is internal, um, which is understanding why you go, when you go, um, analyzing, like understanding yourself, which is it gets easier when you get a little bit older, which is why Gen Z and Gen Alpha,
Mm-hmm.
like it's harder. Um, and like I don't want to sound like spiritual, because like it's not like I'm not, but and be like that. That's not the point. Um, but like it's really doing internal work to understand yourself, to educate yourself on that. Like I think that like the reason I started, like as any good startup, we shifted and pivoted a bunch of times until we got to where we are now. But when we initially started it, like I wanted to see, and like that's a problem I struggled and still struggle with. Like we can always improve. I tried thinking, okay, what can make the biggest impact on someone's performance. And you can today, like you can make people smarter. Like you can literally improve someone's IQ, but not by much, but like you can make people a little bit smarter. But I think that's the biggest impact you can do, you can have, yeah, is on like how well you concentrate, in this age of attention economy. There are companies that spend a lot of money and they have a lot of resources to hijack your attention to things that are not important for you.
Indeed.
In most cases, now as a company, we shifted from this direction, because like it's not. At least for us, like as a team, as a company, as the individuals we are, not it's not the best way to create a successful company. But I still think it's like if you can control that, control your mind, as much as possible. Like it's a big differentiator, like in today's attention economy. So like if I had to, to provide tips to, to college students, or, even to everyone, like work on that. Like knowledge is now a commodity. Like,
Yeah.
knowledge is very, very much out there. You still need to be smart to know like which questions to ask, and that's also a matter of experience. But like controlling your attention and where it goes, like it's still it's a challenge, and concentrated focused people are going to to have better odds of succeeding in whatever they want to do.
Yeah, indeed. I do resonate with that. And self awareness is and understanding oneself is very important, and it's a journey, a lifelong journey that people do take. And I'd like to talk about your external tool that you use. Are there any challenges when you are using these blockers in your social medias?
It depends which one. Like I think that all of the Chrome extensions that I have, like I usually don't like I don't unblock them. Like I go there, I send like the message I need and move on. Um, Mostly because it's hard to unblock them. Like it's just they made it hard to do so. Like um, so there's a time cost to do that that I don't want to take. Yeah, on my phone, it's a little bit easier to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the I don't know if they are still active, but there was a company that created a wristband that literally, and it's not a joke. Like there was a product like that electrifies you.
Oh, yeah,
Like
I've heard about that.
so, I don't know how well they are doing, and I don't know how many people want to buy wristbands that electrify them. Um, so I don't know how, how well they're doing, but they created it and people used it, or maybe still use it. So it's definitely a big enough problem. Um, so for me, it's working okay. Not perfect, but it's not perfect because I'm not perfect. Um, um, I wish that there were better tools to work on the internal part.
Mm,
Just
yeah.
but the reason that there are no good tools is not because of lack of technology or because of lack of commitment or interest to build these types of tools. I think it's because of, and again, not trying to sound spiritual or too deep, but like it's because of human nature. Like eventually, uh, all of us we think we are complicated. Like we are not. We are pretty simple, relatively simple. Okay, at least compared to what we like to think about ourselves. Um, and like we need the excitement, we need the relaxation, like we need we have the basic needs that most of us share, um, and like working, spending time to learn about yourself and to learn about like why you do what you do and how it's hard, and we want easy and simple. Like I we are using a Claude to build a mockup. Like before we build
Mm.
a new feature, we just like it's a good way to use. We ought to use base 44 and Laravel to do that. And I found myself getting annoyed that it took more than 2 minutes, like to see a design, and that's something that would have cost thousands of dollars and weeks, a couple of years ago, like not even not 20, like a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, that would have cost much more and would have taken much more time. And I find myself getting annoyed, like after 2 minutes of not getting my design. So like, also our expectations have changed, and we need to manage that.
Indeed. And thank you very much for your insights, Yair. Now we are moving on to the segment of open mic where you have the chance to talk about anything that you're passionate about and it doesn't have to be related to the topic. So the stage is yours, Yair.
So maybe I will say something to new entrepreneurs, to younger entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Um, so I think, well, not just me, but like we live in an age where development is easy and building
Mm,
is easy. Like it's a commodity by now. Like you can create an app that works. I mentioned working with high school students, like meeting them once
mm-hmm,
a week, like as a mentor. And they've built apps.
mm,
They have users, like things that in the past would have taken months at best to start. And when I'm looking at their barriers to start, um, it, it's interesting because like these are not things that I would have thought about myself. But like it's the barrier of trying to be perfect and trying to build things that are not good enough. Um, which I think again makes perfect sense. Like I spent most of my time like in the last years like with students in the US,
mm-hmm.
and 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 when I talked with them, like they were genuinely afraid. Like they were genuinely afraid to fail. They were genuinely like just afraid. Like that's the word I would use to describe. To
Yeah.
not get good enough grades, to not get and when I'm working with the high schoolers, um, not that different.
Mm,
And so since we live in an age where it's so easy to try, and anyway, like the statistic for startups is like about, it depends which statistics you look at, but like it's about 3% of chances to succeed, like as a first time entrepreneur. It's also a question of what's success, but like the chances are slim. So if you start early and fail early and learn from that and continue and to evolve, um, like things are going to be much easier for you. So that's my educational message to to people out there, and
yeah.
mostly young on the younger side.
Yeah, especially to my generation and the generations below me. And if our listeners want to find out more about you and what you do, where should they go?
And so I'm mostly on LinkedIn, like on the professional environment is mostly LinkedIn. You can find my name. There are two people under my name, and and like the other guy, which I don't know personally, but I'm sure is great. We have like a very similar, like we basically have the same life. Like we studied at the same university. He's also in the tech
Oh,
industry. He's also a marathon runner. Uh, so, so
that's interesting.
so don't just look the name, also look the company. Okay, because
Oh,
we just have a similar life.
that's very interesting. There's only two people with your name, and you guys have
and
lived
and we and we
similar
are
lives.
just the same. Yeah. I look slightly better, but that's the only the only difference.
Yeah, and yeah, thank you very much for sharing your knowledge with us. I have personally learned a lot, and I'm sure our listeners have learned a lot as well. To our audience, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Bye bye.
Thank you. Nice.
You have been listening to Bouncing Back, the Personal Resilience Science Insights podcast produced by the Life Management Science Labs. Listen to episodes from LMSL's 10 Life Management Perspectives on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or other podcasting apps on your smartphone. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating our show, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps other people find it and us grow to bring you more quality resources. More of our work can be found on our website, pr.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Joanna. Thanks for tuning in.